Molly, you're all that your father talks about.
How come he's never talked about you?
Well, because... Why haven't you mentioned me, Jeff?
Do you remember when television felt like family, when laughter came with lessons, and every Thursday night carried a touch of warmth? For millions who grew up in the late 1970s and 80s, The Facts of Life wasn't just another sitcom. It was a ritual, a mirror of growing up, and a comforting voice in a changing world. Charlotte Rae's Mrs. Garrett dished out wisdom with cookies, while Blair, Natalie, and Tootie became more than characters. They were friends who faced life's ups and downs right alongside us. Yet behind that wholesome glow of Eastland Academy, the story was far richer and more complicated. There were betrayals, breakthroughs, lost chances, and historic firsts that never made it onto the screen. Today, we open that time capsule to rediscover the untold side of the series, the struggles, surprises, and second acts that shaped the people who brought it to life. Because sometimes the real facts of life happened when the cameras stopped rolling. Fact number 12, the reboot that never happened. It began like a dream for every nostalgic fan. In 2021, The Facts of Life made a surprise return to prime time as part of ABC's Live in Front of a Studio Audience series. For one glittering evening, the halls of Eastland School were alive again. Jennifer Aniston as Blair Gabrielle Union, as Tootie Catherine Hahn, as Jo Allison Tolman, as Natalie, and the legendary Ann Dowd, reviving Mrs. Garrett. Ratings soared, social media erupted in excitement, and fans felt just for a moment that the heart of the 1980s had come back to life. Producers rushed to capture the magic. A writer was hired, a reboot outline approved, and even Norman Lear, well into his 90s, was on Zoom calls planning the comeback. But Hollywood dreams rarely survive their own nostalgia. Somewhere in the process, ego crept in. One original cast member allegedly pursued a solo spin-off deal, blindsiding her colleagues and effectively sinking the revival before it began. The betrayal echoed through private group chats and unspoken silences. Mindy Cohn later hinted at the fallout with a cryptic post that left fans guessing who had shattered the reunion. Lawyers intervened, hearts hardened, and what could have been a triumphant reunion dissolved into rumors and disappointment. The reboot that felt so close vanished as quietly as it appeared, leaving audiences once again watching reruns and wondering what might have been. In the end, it wasn't network rejection or budget problems that killed the Facts of Life revival. It was human frailty, the same ingredient that once made the show so relatable. The curtain closed before it could rise, and the only thing resurrected was our longing for a simpler television age. Fact number 11. Charlotte Rae exited like a legend. From that unrealized beginning, the story turns to a true farewell that did happen. Charlotte Rae's graceful departure in 1986. As Mrs. Edna Garrett, she had been the moral compass of The Facts of Life, the mother figure who taught compassion, humor, and courage to millions of viewers. For 7 seasons, she offered tough love and baked wisdom, serving as both cafeteria manager and surrogate parent to generations of girls. But Rae herself knew when it was time to let go. She was in her 60s, the girls were grown, and she felt her character's arc had completed its natural journey. In an era when television often wrote women out without ceremony, Rae asked to leave with dignity, and she got it. Her character married Dr. Bruce Gaines, joined the Peace Corps, and departed for Africa in one of the most heartfelt exits of the decade. That ending wasn't just a plotline, it was a reflection of Rae's own courage to step away at her peak. The show continued for 2 more seasons under Cloris Leachman, but the emotional glue had gone. Rae, meanwhile, went on to work in theater, film, and even beat cancer, carrying her optimism and humor until her passing in 2018. Her farewell remains one of television's most graceful goodbyes, a woman who knew when to pass the torch, doing so not in scandal or decline, but in triumph. In a way, her exit symbolized what the failed reboot never understood: endings can be beautiful when they honor what came before. As the lights dimmed at Eastland, Rae's final smile became a symbol of grace in an industry built on reinvention. The first lesson of the facts of life that growth means letting go had come full circle, both on screen and off. Fact number 10. Blair Warner said not tonight. NBC. By the mid-1980s, The Facts of Life was no longer just a cozy school comedy. American television was changing, and networks were pushing the limits with darker, very special episodes that tackled taboo subjects. Producers wanted Eastland's glamorous Blair Warner to headline one such storyline, an episode about losing her virginity. It would have been bold for a show built on friendship and moral lessons, but actress Lisa Whelchel refused. A devout Christian, she stood her ground, politely telling producers she would not cross that line even if it meant being written out. In a business known for compromise, her decision shocked Hollywood. Yet her conviction forced NBC to pivot. The controversial storyline went ahead, but centered instead on Natalie, played by Mindy Cohn. Blair was written out of the episode entirely, her absence unspoken yet powerful. In that silence, Whelchel made a statement louder than any scripted dialogue. Personal integrity mattered more than ratings. This rare act of quiet rebellion shaped how family television approached moral boundaries. Whelchel's stance, once criticized as stubborn later, came to represent authenticity in an industry addicted to shock value. In hindsight, her refusal didn't weaken the show, it preserved its heart. And though some fans wondered what might have been, others admired that rare strength to say no in a world built on yes. Fact number 9. Jerry Jewell made sitcom history. While Whelchel's conviction reshaped television ethics, another woman transformed its very image. In 1980, actress and comedian Jerry Jewell made history as the first performer with a visible disability to earn a recurring role on a primetime sitcom. Her character, Cousin Jerry, wasn't defined by her cerebral palsy, but by her sharp humor and wit, a refreshing change from the industry's usual pity roles. Jewell's inclusion was more than symbolic. It redefined visibility at a time when disability representation was nearly non-existent. Norman Lear discovered her during a comedy, Fact, and immediately recognized her spark. Soon, she was lighting up Eastland's set, exchanging banter with Blair, and inspiring a generation that rarely saw itself reflected on screen. But behind the scenes, life tested her resilience. Her manager's financial crimes left her nearly bankrupt, and roles grew scarce as Hollywood's fascination with diversity faded into tokenism. Still, Jewell never retreated. She rebuilt her life through public speaking, using humor to challenge prejudice, and later returned to acting on HBO's Deadwood, a performance critics hailed as both authentic and brave. Her autobiography, I'm Walking as Straight as I Can, revealed her pain and perseverance, turning personal struggle into strength. Together, Whelchel and Jewell represented two sides of courage in the entertainment world. One moral, one social. They proved that conviction could outlast contracts, and authenticity could change television more deeply than any script. From moral lines drawn in the 1980s to barriers broken on stage and screen, The Facts of Life showed that bravery comes in many forms, sometimes by saying no, and sometimes by simply showing up as you are. Fact number 8. The cast faced brutal weight pressure. The 1980s were wrapped in neon and optimism, but behind in the pastel sweaters of The Facts of Life, a quiet cruelty unfolded. Television had a secret obsession control over the female image, and the young actresses of Eastland felt it daily. Producers measured more than performance. They measured pounds. Mindy Cohn, who played Natalie, was told not to lose weight because her character needed to look different. Lisa Whelchel, meanwhile, was ordered to slim down. She was even sent to so-called fat farms, enduring daily weigh-ins and therapist visits arranged not for mental health, but for marketing. The pressure turned what should have been a joyful coming-of-age experience into a silent endurance test. Joan Rivers's cruel nickname, "The Fats of Life," spread through tabloids, burning deeper than any review. Years later, the actresses admitted that those experiences scarred their confidence and shaped how they viewed themselves in adulthood. Yet through that pain, they carried on showing up for filming, smiling on cue, and pretending that laughter came easy. In the glow of the studio lights, their courage was invisible but constant. They played teenage girls learning to love themselves while living under a system that demanded they change who they were. It was a quiet irony. The show that taught acceptance was run by an industry that didn't practice it. But it also made the message more profound. Decades later, their confessions became part of Hollywood's reckoning with body image, reminding viewers that authenticity is never effortless. It's an act of resistance. Fact number 7. Mindy Cohn's accidental casting. And yet amid that harshness, one of the most beloved characters began as a beautiful accident. Mindy Cohn wasn't an actress at all. She was just another student at Westlake School for Girls in Los Angeles when producers visited to research teenage life for the new show. Charlotte Rae, always perceptive, noticed Mindy's humor and charm during a casual school tour. By the end of the day, she insisted the producers cast her, and they did. Natalie Green was written especially for her, even named after Rae's own childhood best friend. The realness that Mindy brought wasn't rehearsed. It was lived. She balanced filming with real classes, studying late into the night, embodying both the teenager she portrayed and the hardworking young woman behind the camera. Cohn later joked that the experience made her feel like a 40-year-old in a 17-year-old's body, but that exhaustion built something rare: authenticity. Her laughter, her awkwardness, her warmth, all of it came from truth. In a cast polished for television, she remained entirely herself. Together, these two stories, the pain of image control and the purity of accidental fame, paint a deeper portrait of the facts of life. It wasn't just about the lessons the audience learned. It was about the lessons the cast lived. Between diet charts and homework, between expectations and exhaustion, they embodied what the title truly meant. The facts of life aren't always fair, but they are always real. Fact number 6. Tootie Goes Pop by 1984. Kim Fields had become one of the most recognizable young stars on television. As Dorothy "Tootie" Ramsey, she was the voice of innocence and mischief on the facts of life. But at just 15, Fields wanted something more: her own sound, her own stage. While juggling homework and filming schedules, she began recording music, determined to prove she wasn't just another sitcom teen. Her debut single, "He Loves Me, He Loves Me," not drew modest attention, but it was the B-side that made headlines, a delicate cover of Michael Jackson's "Dear Michael." This wasn't a marketing stunt. It was personal. Kim's mother, actress Chip Fields, had worked with the Jackson family, and Kim herself had grown up around Janet and Michael. Her version of the song, gentle, emotional, and unpretentious, reached number 50 on the R&B charts, surpassing the original. The success, though small, revealed something profound. Kim Fields could stand on her own, not just as a supporting character on a sitcom, but as an artist finding her voice. It also reflected the era's growing crossover between TV and pop music, when every teen idol wanted to sing. Fields never became a pop sensation. But her brief moment on the charts captured the ambition of a young woman carving space in an industry that often boxed its stars into type. Her story, filled with hope and self-expression, shone brightly against the backdrop of an entertainment world that sometimes forgot these were children carrying adult expectations. Fact number 5. Molly Ringwald's short-lived role. While Kim Fields was testing her voice, another young actress at Eastland was about to lose hers. Before she became the face of 1980s teen cinema, Molly Ringwald was simply Molly Parker in Season 1 of The Facts of Life. At 12, she was bright, funny, and full of potential. But as the show evolved, the producers decided to age up its tone, less middle school, more mature storylines about dating, friendship, and life lessons. When the cuts came, Molly didn't make it. She was told she was too young for the new direction. There was no farewell episode, no graduation, just a quiet removal from the cast list. For a child actor, it was a devastating blow. Years later, she would admit that being dismissed at such a tender age felt humiliating. But history would have the last word. Within a few years, John Hughes discovered her and 16 Candles. The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink turned her into the definitive face of teen emotion. Ironically, the rejection that once broke her heart became the very fact that freed her to become a cultural icon. Juxtaposed with Kim Fields' musical detour, Molly's exit shows the two sides of teenage fame, one searching for creative freedom, the other forced to reinvent. In both, The Facts of Life served as a stepping stone, a proving ground that prepared its young cast for bigger, harder, and sometimes lonelier stages. For viewers, these stories carry a bittersweet truth. Not every beginning guarantees permanence. And sometimes the role that defines you is the one you never planned to play. Fact number 4. George Clooney was fired and rehired. Before he was the silver-haired icon of Hollywood, George Clooney was just another struggling actor with a mullet and a dream. In 1985, he joined The Facts of Life as George Burnett, the affable handyman who repaired more pipes than plot lines. At the time, he was far from a star, just another hopeful face among the Eastland girls, flashing his easy charm and learning the rhythms of sitcom life. But behind the laughter, tension brewed. A new producer accused Clooney of deliberately sabotaging a rehearsal in front of NBC executives, claiming he'd tanked a scene to make the material look bad. Clooney denied it, insisting he had simply disagreed with the weak writing. Whatever the truth, the damage was done. He was fired. For most actors, that would have been the end of the story. But Clooney's contract still had time left, forcing NBC to awkwardly bring him back. The young actor returned for a few more episodes, professional, but detached, already sensing it was time to move on. This chapter in Clooney's early career would later become a footnote in his legend, a humbling reminder that even future A-listers start by carrying tool belts and enduring creative clashes. The show may have dismissed him, but it taught him how to navigate egos, producers, and the fragile balance between artistry and survival. In hindsight, it wasn't a failure. It was a rehearsal for the resilience he would need in Hollywood's bigger arenas. Fact number 3. The 7 failed spin-offs. While Clooney's contract drama unfolded, NBC was facing its own crisis: how to stretch the Eastland magic just a little longer. Between 1980 and 1988, the network launched not 1, not 2, but 7 spin-off attempts tied to The Facts of Life. Each idea promised a new beginning, and each failed spectacularly. The first, Brian and Sylvia, starred a young Richard Dean Anderson in an interracial marriage storyline that proved too progressive for its time. Test audiences balked, and NBC quietly shelved it. Then came the Academy Joe's cousin, The Big Fight, Graduation, and Big Apple Blues, each trying to capture the spirit of Eastland in different settings: military schools, Bronx neighborhoods, Manhattan lofts. None took off. The final attempt, the two-part finale in which Blair buys Eastland and becomes headmistress, seemed perfect. It introduced a new cast of students, young talents like Mayim Bialik, Seth Green, and Juliette Lewis. But even that mix of nostalgia and fresh faces couldn't convince NBC to take the risk. The network, chasing the ghost of a hit, had forgotten what made the original work: authenticity. Together, Clooney's firing and the failed spin-offs reveal the same lesson: some things can't be manufactured. Chemistry, timing, and sincerity can't be replicated by formula or contract. The Facts of Life endured precisely because it wasn't trying to be anything else. In an era obsessed with extending success, the show's greatest power was knowing when to stop. The curtain was slowly closing, but in those final seasons, the spirit of Eastland remained intact, an imperfect, heartfelt reflection of growing up, letting go, and learning when the story has truly been told. Fact number 2. Mrs. Garrett was a mail lady. Long before Charlotte Rae became the comforting heart of the Facts of Life, she was already teaching lessons on another iconic program, Sesame Street. In the early 1970s, she played Molly the Mail Lady, a cheerful figure who helped children learn about words, letters, and kindness. Her warmth was effortless, her laughter genuine, and her lessons simple but memorable. Children trusted her face before they even knew her name. So when NBC needed a housemother for a new boarding school sitcom, they didn't just hire an actress, they brought in a mentor the audience already loved. Her background on Sesame Street shaped the very essence of Mrs. Garrett. She wasn't written as a disciplinarian or comic relief. She was the bridge between youth and wisdom, teaching not just her fictional girls, but an entire generation watching from home. In many ways, The Facts of Life was an extension of that early educational mission, just for a slightly older classroom. When Charlotte Rae stirred cookie dough and advice in the same bowl, it wasn't acting. It was continuity, a lifetime of teaching through kindness. Her ability to connect made Mrs. Garrett unforgettable. She represented the adult everyone wished they had, understanding, yet firm, humorous, yet wise. Even decades later, her voice remains the moral anchor of 1980s television. Fact number 1. The Drummonds returned to Eastland. And finally, the story loops back to where it began, with different strokes. The Facts of Life was born from that show, with Mrs. Garrett originally serving as the Drummond family's housekeeper. But unlike most spin-offs, the two worlds never truly separated. The Drummonds, Arnold Willis and Kimberly, continued to visit Eastland in crossover episodes that blurred the lines between both sitcoms. Gary Coleman's visits brought bursts of laughter, while Dana Plato's appearances added continuity that fans cherished. These crossovers weren't just cameos. They were television's first small-scale shared universe long before Marvel made it fashionable. NBC wanted audiences to feel that both series were part of one warm, interconnected family. Ironically, while different strokes faded first. The Facts of Life thrived for 9 seasons, outliving its parent show and carving its own legacy in television history. By the end of its run in 1988, The Facts of Life had survived cast changes, creative risks, and cultural shifts, yet remained anchored by its heart connection. The Drummonds may have had their penthouse, but the girls of Eastland had something richer: each other. When the credits rolled for the last time, it wasn't an ending. It was a reminder that family, whether by blood or by friendship, can grow far beyond where it started. The laughter, lessons, and love that began with different strokes found their true home in The Facts of Life. And in that continuity, television history found one of its gentlest, most enduring transitions. For 9 unforgettable seasons, The Facts of Life was more than a sitcom. It was a reflection of growing up in real time. It taught audiences that humor and hardship could coexist, that mistakes were part of learning, and that friendships could feel like family. Behind every laugh track were stories of courage, Lisa Whelchel's quiet defiance, Jerry Jewell's groundbreaking visibility, Charlotte Rae's grace, and even George Clooney's early stumbles. Each moment, both on and off screen, mirrored the real facts of life: change, struggle, and perseverance. Looking back now, the show feels like a time capsule from an era when television cared about character more than spectacle. Its lessons still resonate in today's chaotic entertainment world. Integrity matters more than fame, sincerity outlasts trends, and kindness never goes out of style. Even decades later, its warmth lingers like a familiar melody, one that reminds us how stories can shape who we become. Of the 12 facts above, which one surprised you the most? Was it the lost reboot, Charlotte Rae's farewell, or perhaps the quiet bravery of those who stood their ground behind the scenes? Thank you for taking this nostalgic journey through television history. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold stories from the shows that shaped our hearts. See you in the next video. This is TV Time Capsule.